Okay, we're going to just take a
All right.
Good morning, Facebook world. Here we are on it, on beat, whether we're slept well or not, because I think that we're on the ladder of that. Welcome to the alphabet game today. Hello, hello, hello. The letter H is what we're going to spin around. And I'm going to introduce you now to Dr. Brenda, who's going to introduce herself.
Okay, thanks, Janine. All right, I think I've got it all set up. It's in my group. So, hey, if anybody has any H words, we're on the letter H. I'm Dr. Brenda, sociologist, financial coach, founder of Gutsy Women Finances Community, where fun and finances meet. Full-time RVer traveling the U.S. with my 3 cats, currently in Tucson, Arizona for a couple of more hours. And then I head to Picacho Peak State Park out south of Phoenix, where I want to climb up to the peak, and they say wear gloves because you've got metal cable to hang on to. So I don't know if I'm going to be up for that, but I'm going to try it. Go ahead, Janine.
Okay, we're getting intermittent video from you. It's kind of breaking a little bit, but this is it because Dr. Brenda's hard to catch. She's on the road. And you never know what internet is like. Hi, my name is Janine McJannet. I am a very near to be therapist in rapid transformational therapy and a hypnotherapist and an empowerment coach. And here I am coming from my home in the Yukon, where spring is actually in the air. I know that you may see snow behind me because there still is lots of snow. But what we have, which is always the best indicator, is that the swans are here now. There's over 20 swans. That means their migration has started, and we don't hopefully have any more -10, -20 days. We're about -6 right now, so all is good. Feeling great.
Okay, fantastic. Well, why don't you kick off our week with the letter H?
Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to kick that off by saying, help me for a second by you kicking it off, because I'm trying to share it to the group and I always get distracted by
Okay,
you. And
so I guess your word is help?
Yes, go.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to tell you what. My word is home. And my world is kind of shifting around me this week. So I've been on the road since May 2020, and I'm looking at my schedule and I'm looking at my cash flow and I'm looking at what do I want to do next. And I'm also at this big RV rally. It's called the Escapade, and there's a group here called Escapers, and we're working age people who are mostly working from our rig, and there's so many cool people. And it's like, I left Virginia in the midst of COVID, May 2020. Campsites, I had to stay to myself. My rallies that I was going to were all canceled, and I've not built a community. And I'm like, you know what? I think I could build a community with some of these folks. And are you still there? You're frozen. I'm frozen. So I'm just going to keep talking. Are you there?
I'm here. Go on.
I'm just going to keep talking. So I'm like, okay, most of these events go on the west. So I'm actually looking at getting into an RV resort through this escapees club, and it's a co-op, and putting down a deposit and having a place to kind of call home. It would be my base. And oh, there we go. I'm lost again. That was, I think Dolly did that. Did you do that, Dolly? So home, it's, I don't, my house is the RV, but it travels. And the other thing, I want to do is hit the speaking stage. And it's like, how am I going to do that if I'm on the moving every 10 days or 2 weeks? It's really hard. So can I prioritize that, which means I need more of a home base? So I'm going to check things out in April. It may be in California.
Wow.
And so I'm like, okay. And I've got family there. in the area so I could actually, see family. So I'm really rethinking my whole RV lifestyle at this point. So I've been up night after night going through the logistics and trying to follow my heart. Now, I won't make a decision till I see the possible home, but my heart is telling me it's time to go in another direction. I'm still living in my RV. I can use it as a base and jump off and continue doing my stuff, but I'd have a base. I'd have a place where, I could establish a vet for the cats. I could, it's very health oriented. I can take care of my health. Beautiful views right out in nature. So life is changing for me. So H is home. H is home.
H is home, H is health as well.
Absolutely.
And H is also hallelujah for making a decision and changing the path. Because that's what it's about, we get in these habits in our mind of always wanting to do something or having to do something, should be, and then checking in with your intuition and your heart, and just like, what do I really want? It's the first question, on the path of endless todays, because there are no endless tomorrows, is what do I really want? Wake up, what do I really, really want today?
Yeah.
So hallelujah for that.
Well, and it shifts too. Like I've got a friend who travels with me, and she's like, "Well, what'd you do with Brenda?" And I said, "She's here. She's just kind of shifting priorities and community. I really miss being part of a community."
Yeah, and that's the one thing I think, like, when we move through our lives, like even me at home here, and I've got a family, and right now I'm in my little space. It's what I need to get away. Like, we need to listen to our gut, and we need to do what we need to do. But without consistent community, and I mean, that's what you and I have. We have our little 2B in community, which is great. I look forward to every week because we support each other. And that's what the larger community does, whether it's online, whether it's physical, whether it's on the phone, is just being able to support someone and listen and back and forth. And just, we're born into this world. Like, the deep need is to be connected. Like, without our parents, we would die. So that need never goes away. And sort of looking at the habit of that is like, when our needs aren't met as a kid, and I'm going to another H word here, which is healing. When our needs aren't met as a young child, whether it is connection, whether it is love, whether it is support, whether it is being seen or heard or celebrated, then we start to get into some crazy habits when we get older. And it's that tapping into your intuition and just like, what's going on? What do I really need? That we talked about, that can be such a healthy sort of change in life, looking at the habits.
I'd like to prod you a little bit on that, because I'm going to be, today is Friday? Thursday?
Today is Friday.
Today is Friday. So tomorrow I am hooking up with my 25-year-old child, who's going to be with me in the RV.
For how long?
About a little over a week, 8 days, I think.
Oh, good. Great.
But so, talking about healthy habits and going back to where you came from. So I adopted him as he goes by him now, but I adopted her, little girl, and she was almost 7 years old, and certainly a history of trauma. I collected some information, got some information, so I know what happened. Generally, we've connected with brothers, so I've confirmed some of what she witnessed and experienced as a young child. But now, he doesn't remember any of that and won't go back to sort of open it up because it's painful. So I wonder for you, as a hypnotherapist and doing all this stuff, like, how do you get folks to finally say, okay, it's time. I know that a lot of what I do now is a result of the losses I experienced when I was a little child.
Yeah,
Now he's not ready to open up, but
yeah.
what do you say to folks? I mean,
That's,
any advice?
I think the first thing is, and as you know, both as a hypnotherapist and a coach, I don't get people to say anything. They have to truly desire to want to make a change and a shift.
Right, right,
And so in terms of family, how can we demonstrate that it's possible? And so you as his mom now, you've made lots of changes. So that's like, oh, you can change. You can talk about your own journey and show and demonstrated it. But the last thing that somebody who's uncertain about change wants to hear is, oh, let me show you how to change, or you need to change here or there, right? So it's really
right.
asking like the motivational inquiry question, whatever it's called. My brain has gone poop, but ask him how important it is, like in all of the areas of your life. Like you can use the life circle or whatever it is, like spirituality, career, family, home, exercise, healthy eating, all of those different areas. Ask him how good he's doing in those areas on a scale of 1 to 10, motivational scale, right? And then for those areas that are lower, like 4, 5, or 6, it's like, okay, is it important for you to make a shift in this area? And again, motivational scale. If it's important, great. And then the third question is, how confident are you in making a shift in this area? And that's the one that can move easily, because confidence can be taught, especially through, role modeling or coaching or whatever it
Right.
is. But the key is that everyone has to want to make a change, which is why we started off with, what do you really, really want? And so if they want joy, if they want happiness, if they want to travel, whatever it is, what's in the way? What are the obstacles? So it's really just having an open conversation. And sometimes they don't want to have an open conversation, which is a really good
Well,
indicator.
not with their parent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that they
yeah,
don't want to change, they don't want to change. So the healing path, it comes from within. And so all we can do as parents is just guide and show by demonstration, lead by demonstration. Like my daughter a couple of weeks ago came home from school and she's just like, oh, I got this assignment to do. We have to talk about a cool woman, an empowering woman, or not inspiring woman. And I was like, oh, I did Madonna last year. I know she's been through some stuff, but she goes, no, I'm not going to do Madonna. I'm going to do you. And I ran around the house and I chased her until I caught her and gave her a big hug. And she goes, I'm not going to tell them everything, Mom. But, you stopped drinking and your parents drank a lot. So that's a big change, and it's motivated and inspired me. So just by showing up and knowing that we can change, and you've done some amazing things. So how can you just like throw in the little, gems every now and then, and he'll go, oh, it's possible. Because it's that
yeah,
possibility,
yeah.
just the hope
Yeah,
that you,
I have to be very, very conscious of not offering advice that's not asked for.
yeah,
That's my first jumping point. It's like, okay, well, you could do this by da
yeah,
da da. It's like, wait a minute, he didn't ask me
yeah,
for advice. He's just sharing something with me. I'm there to listen. So I've had to consciously sort of shift my role. I mean,
yeah,
he's an adult. He's been on his own for years. He's not 12 years old anymore. So I think as parents, we tend to see them as who they were as a young child, and hard to
yeah,
see the growth that they're making.
yeah. It is a shift. I went and saw Dr. Gabor Mate last October down in Vancouver, and he's an incredible doctor of addiction. Look him up. He's got some incredible books. He's just a wise, gentle soul. He and his son put on workshops for the past many years about the relationship between the parent, and the adult child. And at the end, I went up to talk to him. He signed my book and I got a great selfie with him because he's pretty cool. But at the end, I said to him, my kid doesn't really listen to me. My kid, who was 16 then, she just doesn't listen to me. And I don't know, it's kind of causing a bit of a break in the relationship. And he just so gently looked at me and he goes, what if you didn't give her advice? And I went, oh my gosh, that would be mind changing. That was like the change from the child to the more independent teenager. So I came back home, and then he goes, and if you feel the urge, if you really feel the urge to say something that'll help them, because that's what we want to do. We want to help them be happy and healthy and hopeful. Ask, say, would you like my advice? Or would you like a recommendation? And then they have every right to say yes or no. And my daughter, when I first did that, she said no. And it was like a punch to the ego, but I went, that's good. And so I let it go. And then it was fine. Because we can't enable them with their thoughts and directions anymore. And it's really hard. Oh, that's not even a word. It's hard. It's too hard. That's a good H word. It's really hard to make shifts because we have experienced so much more than they as children. But just to let them go and let them be in the here and now by themselves and ask them questions.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, one of the words that I wrote down was actually heavy, and it's it's like the weight that we carry around, the worries, and just I can't watch the news really. It's just brings me down and weights me down. And there's so much that we can focus on that's going on wrong with the world and wrong in our backyards and wrong in our house. And it can really weigh you down. And then the other word that you mentioned that I'm sure is on your list is hope. Yeah. Because, if you're in this heavy place, you can be mentally heavy, physically heavy, just psychologically, this heaviness that's bringing you down. Sometimes, you can't really get out unless you can envision, unless you have hope that you can make a shift, that there's something else out there for you.
Hope is an interesting word. And I have a love-hate relationship with hope. And I'll tell you why, because hope is great to have, especially in times of loss and grief, hope that things will get better and whatnot. But in terms of creating a new path of growth, hope is nothing without action. It is a thought. Absolutely. And how can we move that thought and make it an action? So sometimes you'll hear people say, sometimes we say to ourselves, oh, I hope this happens, or I hope that she comes, or I hope that this happens. And it's like, you can hope all you want to, but really you have to have an intention, H-I. That's going to be next week, intention. Because without that intention, hope just stays there as a thought.
Well, even in writing stuff. So, you've caught me at this. I've caught myself at this. I hope, da, 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 da. And it's a relatively weak word. And so when you begin to take out the word hope from this and say, I will, or this is what my expectation is, it changes the way you think. But I've also been in a place where I felt dead to the world, and it's like I needed to know that there was some other possibility out there.
Yeah, and it's like the mountain and the valley of life, right? When we go down to the valley, that's the first thing that we can reach on our climb up is just that hope, and then from the hope, you can go to curiosity. What are the other options? And from curiosity, maybe you'll go to awareness. Oh, this can happen. And then from awareness, it could be options. It could be creativity. It could end up at the top of the mountain in joy or play.
Yeah. I'd love to jump to another word. The word is humor. And partly because I did a panel discussion yesterday. I was a moderator. I was back on stage with a headset microphone, and I loved it.
How did it feel? How did it make you feel? I want some feeling words.
It made me feel whole. It made me feel like, legitimate. It made me feel I've got so much to contribute. It made me happy. Yeah. There's the H word. But I used to present quite a bit, and it was always on serious stuff, and research things. So it wasn't personal. And this was all about for solo women RVers. And so I it's the first time like I tested out a story. I've got this story about, you can plan all you want, and then this crazy stuff happens. So I tell the crazy story about my cat locking me out of the RV while it's running, and all of this funny stuff. And I think it's funny, but we never know about humor until we try it out. And so everybody was just cracking up, just laughing. And I thought, you know what? That's the other part that feels so good, is to bring some levity to somebody else, to make them smile. And that's in it for me. It confirmed sort of like, I gotta get on stage. I gotta do some speaking, because I've got some really powerful stuff to say, and it's fun for me.
Yes. Yeah.
So
And that's what
humor,
I mean. I just look at you and I laugh. And it's not because you look funny. It's because I know that what's inside, there's that element of, so be it. Let's just be here and now, right? And it's about finding the harmony with what we want and what we do, where we want to go, who we want to be with. A lot of people talk about this life balance, which to me is just like a teeter-totter. It's like, oh, you got to make it just there and then everything's going to be fine. So that perfectionist state comes in, but harmony, it can be like this, or it can be like this, right? What makes it feel good for you? And how can we get to a place to know what we even want and how we want to feel good, which goes back to, your son coming up is like, what brings people peace? What brings people hope? What brings people just that desire, that curiosity to make change in their life?
Well, and the other piece of that is putting yourself into a situation where you can say yes. I mean, I've got my schedule figured out till mid-November. And I was about to book things into 2024, and it's like, whoa, just stop. Because if I continue that schedule, I automatically have to say no to opportunities that come up because I'm in this part of the country or I'm moving that day. And I don't ever want to look back. I don't care what age I am. I can be 120. I don't want to look back and say, I wonder what would have happened.
Yeah.
Maybe
or on your deathbed, right?
Right. If it doesn't work out, at least you have given it every opportunity. And I don't want to have to say no because my living situation is so unstable. So if I can book things out and know where I need to be 6 months out, a year out, and I can have this base and travel around it, that's a different life. But I'm saying yes to a different future. Yeah. How many of us really say yes to a different future? I mean, this all happened in days, Janine. In days. Yeah.
See what happens when that healing vortex comes in and sort of sweeps you out and says, get back on track. What do you really want? And the first thing that our mind wants to do is say, it's too hard. I can't do it, because our mind wants to take the easy path, wants to take the comfortable path, wants to take the path of least resistance. So it's really being heroic within yourself and stepping out and saying, what's going on here? I'm the almighty ruler of myself. What do I really want? Whether or not we have a family like myself or you're on the road with the cats, what do you really want and what's the best for you? And even if it is hard, that's what we're here for. We're here to do hard. And I wanted to bring another H word that kind of doesn't, but it does move on. And it's my favorite H word of the moment, and it's hypnotherapy. We can't go without talking about that.
I made sure that was on my list, so just in case you forgot about it.
But there's such power in hypnotherapy, and this is not a pitch, but hypnotherapy allows you to access the subconscious. So what happens with most of us as we go through our lives, we have our traumas, the big T's and the little T's. We set our path, we set our patterns and our habits, and then we stuff things down that are too hard. We stuff them down and they stay down, and we just don't let them come up. And I did that for a long time in corporate. I was like, oh, there's this intuition, right? That's coming up and knocking, going gently, hello, there's something that you need to do. And you're like, shut up, I'm fine, I'm comfortable, just stay down there. Until eventually it hits you over the head with a 2x4 because things need to change. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, and what hypnotherapy does, it allows you in a really safe space to access some of those events that are the root cause of why you're behaving or thinking like you are today. If, and this is the important thing, going right back to the beginning, if you want to make change, if it's important enough for you to make change in whatever area in your life. It's like a kid going into a candy store. And this is what it was like when I started hypnotherapy. What do you want to work on? And I'm like, oh, you can imagine the coffee bar, and you can go, oh, you got to go frustration, motivation, bad habits, fingernail biting, hair pulling, whatever it is, confidence, self-esteem. You're like, oh, I'll have that and I'll have that. Can I have that too? And then we choose one and we work on it. But very often that one thing that you think is the problem isn't the problem. I could go on.
Yeah, it's when you were talking, I was thinking about burnout, because that's where I was, and I think you were maybe somewhere in that area too, and how
Emotional
you're
burnout.
so busy pushing everything down and just getting through the day that you don't allow yourself the time to just stop and reflect. You're so fucking exhausted. You're just running. So, I mean, part of this is just pausing and letting yourself be. And that's one thing I've had to learn, because I am like the most impatient person around, and just pause. P, we got some P words too. All right.
Pause.
Patience.
Pause is an acronym for me. Paying attention unveils soulful experiences. And you're so right. It's about coming back home. Pausing when you're in the busyness of life, when you're in like, oh, I gotta, I should, expectationitis, it's everywhere, is just to stop and take a breath. And that's the mindful stuff that so many people talk about. And it's really potent meditation, right? Meditation is the best medication, because it just means, oh, is this the path? Am I aligned with my values, with all of the things that are important to me? Yeah, it might be hard to pause sometimes, but we all carry around this phone with us. Put in a reminder, if 2 or 3 times a day. Pause, Janine, take a breath. Are you good? Sometimes you're like, oh, I've had to go to the toilet for the last hour, but I'm too busy. And you're like, all right, I can go pee whenever I want to,
Yeah. And then, the phone too. It's like there's a lot of me that would love to just drop off the social media for a while, and it's hard. So you're an entrepreneur. We have to stay in touch some way, but it is we have to carve out our own thing. So we are like our time is about up. Any last words or
okay, summary. I love the summaries that we do, and just throw in the H's in there. But I find that hanging loose and feeling really healthy and happy and heart-filled is a habit that we can actually get into. And when we can change our habits to be who we want to be, that's where we become happy and joyful. And regardless of what modality you use, it's there for you. It's just got to be important enough for you to make a shift so that you can find that humor in life and play and have fun.
Yeah, the heart-filled thing is really critical. Heart-filled, I love that concept. So I'm busy working on the Dream Life retreats in San Diego, and I call myself a financial coach, but the money is just the tool to get you from here to there. It's really about the life, and it's really about time, how you want to spend your time, because that's more important than that's the only thing that really matters is
essential, right?
Yeah. So, and part of this is being holistic, creating a holistic, integrated, healthy, happy self. And to me, a lot of us are spending too much time worrying, including myself, worrying about money. So part of what I want to do is give people a healthy path financially, that leads them into a healthy lifestyle, that leads them into happiness and joy.
Yeah.
So my big thing is the San Diego Dream Retreat, April 22nd. So check out my link in the description. Check out Janine's link in the description for all her fun stuff.
Well, I'm officially going to be, I guess this is new for me. I'm officially going to be taking on hypnosis clients, hypnotherapy clients as a therapist in rapid transformational therapy. I'm writing my test tomorrow and there's no hope about it. I'm going to nail that thing.
Absolutely.
And
Hell
so,
yes.
I know. And I've got a program that I've created and I'm just like so excited about helping others heal with hypnotherapy.
That's super fantastic, and congratulations, because I know you've been working hard on the educational piece.
And it's going to be ongoing and it's fantastic. So yeah,
Okay.
I just want to say, I loved what you said, living a whole integrated, contributory, happy life. That's what you said.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
you are a motivational speaker, my dear.
I am.
I want to
Absolutely.
hear that at the beginning of the next show, right up front.
Okay. Motivational speaker. All right, cool. All
Yeah.
right. So we've been doing this weekly, and I believe today we're going to be switching to every 2 weeks to get to Z by the end of the year. If I recall, today was the big shift, so we're gonna start bringing this to you guys like every other Friday, or we'll look at our schedule. So you can always go back and watch A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and now H.
And we have those in 2 places. We have them on your YouTube channel and we have them in my Soul Empowerment Playground. And they're both for free. So if you want to come in either or subscribe or come in, because I know in the playground there's some fun stuff in there and there's some fun stuff coming.
Check the links for all our fun stuff. So hey, and please subscribe. That would help too.
And put down words that you want to have a conversation about, because I can see this growing and blooming into much more of a conversation with women and having women share their stories.
Absolutely.
Somehow. I know I haven't spoken to you about that before, but ultimately it's connection and community.
Yep, we're working there. We're moving forward. All right.
And there might be, wait, just one more. There might be a pop-up too. So we're every 2 weeks, but you might just, encounter a little pop-up event with Dr. Brenda and Janine.
That was easy enough to do, isn't it?
Totally would.
All right, cool. All right. Well, thanks guys for hanging out with us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Happy, healthy days for you. Mwah.